Good morning to all our audience. Today we're having a special edition of our everyday broadcast Euro News, and we're hosting an interview with two of the most recognized figures. These are two powerful European leaders, Hitler and Britain's Prime Minister Chamberlain. Let's welcome them. Good morning, hope everything's fine.
Yes, indeed. Nothing to have me in a better mood like the achievements I've accomplished throughout these last years.
I dare say many will agree with your satisfaction, but there are some who might question what has happened in these past years. But let's welcome Mr. Chamberlain.
Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure to be able to attend this interview to inform Europe what the details of all the events that have taken place, especially with all the moves that Hitler has carried out.
Let's proceed then, Herr Hitler. There are many politicians and people in general that quite question the reasons why you took the decision to do certain things. As soon as you took power in Germany in 1933, you decided to overturn one of the terms in the Treaty of Versailles. This is the limited armed forces. You started by drafting unemployed workers into the army to deal with one of the major problems Germany was facing. This is unemployment.
That is correct, sir. My aim was to accomplish the promise I had made to make Germany stronger again, and I'm proud of the way Germany is becoming stronger each and every day.
If I may, this decision to rearm without the consent of other nations, mainly France and Britain, which are part of the League of Nations, caused quite an alarm.
But you may understand the reason why I did. Mainly because it was France who didn't support disarmament on behalf of all the other countries. Therefore, I had no other choice left than to rearm secretly at first. Even the disarmament conference in 1934 failed to accomplish disarmament in other nations. Afterwards, I decided to take Germany completely out of the League of Nations.
Soon, you decided to show the entire world, right? As in 1935, you staged a massive military rally, and the following year, 1936, you reintroduced conscription to the army. So, Chamberlain, why didn't the League act against Hitler's attitude on breaking these rules?
We had many other situations going on at the time that we decided to let Hitler get away with this. And we need to recognize that this term was harsh and on Germany, and we believe that the limits put on Germany armed forces were not fair.
Well, German people appeared to support this idea of rearming and even boosted Nazi support. So, Mr. Chamberlain, what was your reaction towards the first term being broken?
Well, Britain have sympathy towards Germany. We also thought that a strong Germany would help stop the increased influence of communism in Europe that had many nations worried. We also signed a naval agreement with Hitler in 1935, allowing it to rebuild its navy up to 35% of the size of Britain's.
Soon after starting rearmament, we saw Hitler taking the next step forward into becoming Germany a powerful nation. This was the Tsar plebiscite in 1935. Tell us, what were your thoughts about the plebiscite, and if it resulted as you planned?
Well, we know that the Tsar had been a mandate under the League since 1919, and the League had stated that 15 years later, a plebiscite would be held for people to decide where they wanted to belong. Surprisingly, 90% of the population voted to return to Germany's rule, so no term of the treaty was broken and there was no opposition by the League. Clearly, it made me feel more confident, and the power by Germany was rising.
Right, neither Britain nor France resisted to the plebiscite, as it was under the terms of the treaty.
I agree, sir. The rising power of Germany was now evident. But is this rise in confidence related to the remilitarization of the Rhineland in March 1936?
Well, my decision to remilitarize this area can be better related to one of my main aims. This is overcoming the Treaty of Versailles and Lebensraum.
But you were aware that this was a huge risk you were taking by moving troops into the Rhineland area, especially because you had accepted this in the Locarno Treaties of 1925, and it would have been a big humiliation if you had been forced to withdraw.
I need to tell you that Germany felt quite threatened by the time, as France had signed a treaty with the USSR to protect each other against any attack from Germany. Therefore, I had to place troops on my border, with France and Britain supported us to some extent. France was also moving troops near to our border. So I really don't care about breaking the Treaty of Versailles, as I'm doing it for Germany's safety.
Britain just felt that Hitler had the right to remilitarize such region.
So it was, for this reason, troops marching to the region. Still, I had ordered my soldiers to pull out if there was any kind of resistance by the French army.
The League didn't do anything about it afterwards, and had the attention on the Abyssinian crisis at the time, so you were lucky. What did you feel when you accomplished this?
I think it was simply marvelous that 15 years have passed since the abominable Treaty of Versailles, and I also think it is a great honor for Germany that it's gaining more Lebensraum and more strength.
Well, we're on right now to a next big step in Germany. This is the Spanish Civil War. Let's start with you, Herr Hitler. What are your thoughts on the events that had been happening in Spain?
I think what happened was terrible. There is no fun, certainly, in a country going to war against itself. It was something actually quite sad.
Thank you, Herr Hitler. What about you, Chamberlain?
I felt worried about this. It was, as Herr Hitler says, not a funny thing at all. We were and still are trying to keep peace in the world with the League of Nations. And the worst thing you can do is go to war against yourself. I feel sorry for all those innocent Spaniards who suffered because of the foolish event caused by the communists, who support the Republican government and right-wing rebel under General Franco.
So, Herr Hitler, tell me what you think went wrong.
Obviously, a civil war indicates one thing. There is a huge problem with the government. And Spain's government is technically communist and has huge communist support, which is why I have said over and over again, a problem. Communism is such a horrible polity. The civil war is your evidence. I think Franco did a great job by finishing communism. I like the guy, and I'm pretty sure with no communism, war will not go around anytime soon.
Yes, I understand that Franco is right-wing. What do you think, Mr. Chamberlain? Are you fine with Franco, a right-wing, taking over Spain, or would you have preferred communism?
Well, I really don't mind. I mean, I might slightly prefer that Franco beat communism because I personally dislike it as well. But what is really important to me is that he is able to run the government correctly and maintain peace in Spain.
I agree. Everything is over in Spain, and that is what matters.
Excuse me, gentlemen, I have to attend a phone call. I'll be right back.
Well, so, Herr Hitler, I have another special question for you. And let's just pretend like nothing happened, since Chamberlain is not here.
Go on.
I know a lot of facts behind the Civil War. So tell me, were you involved in the Spanish Civil War and actually helping Franco sending weapons?
Yes, I did.
Why, if I may ask?
As I told you before, rearmament and remilitarization of Germany is really important for me. So I decided this was an ideal situation to test some new weapons we're developing on our army. And also, it was good aid for Franco.
So you were, let's say, on Franco's side?
Yes, I guess so. I mean, I thought this was a unique opportunity since I would not only test my weapons, but also I would help to eradicate communism, which is another very important thing for me, as it is one of my 3 main aims.
Very interesting. Thank you, Herr Hitler.
Sorry, folks. A call from London. Let's continue. Where were we?
Never mind, Mr. Chamberlain. We're moving on. If we go back to 1938, when your next target was gaining Anschluss with Austria, how can this relate to your aims, and why did you aim to join back again with such country?
Let me firstly state that Anschluss has been long wanted by the Germans, and I was clear to mention it in Mein Kampf, as we refer back to Lebensraum, leaving space for Germans and more territory for our fatherland.
I clearly understand, Herr Hitler, but why Austria? What motivated you to take this step, and why now?
Well, there are several reasons behind why I wanted Germany to unite back with Austria. As you may know, Austria is my homeland, and there are many Germans living in this region. And for these simple reasons, I believe that these 2 nations belong together. Many Austrians supported the idea of union with Germany, as their economy is weak.
I believe you tried to unite before, but there was a slight inconvenience back in 1934. How did you feel toward this, and did you feel resentment toward who intervened?
That is in the past right now. But I did feel anger towards Mussolini as he prevented my unification of Austria to a greater Germany. Now we are in 1939, and by 1938 things had changed, and I'm glad to announce that Mussolini and I have overcome our differences and have become allies to work for a better Europe and one powerful indeed.
Is that so? Because politicians have seen how Nazi members in Austria have stirred up trouble for the government, and a quite unfair way to make people to support you, don't you think?
Well, you can look at things this way, or think about people that's not sure of what kind of future they deserve and want. So we as Nazis help them know what they want. Therefore, we have staged demonstrations calling for union with Germany and organized riots. Soon, I suggested the Austrian Chancellor Schuschnigg that only Anschluss could sort out these problems.
But we need to agree that Schuschnigg felt pressure and had to encourage your friends in Britain for help, but they refused to get involved.
You know, People do exaggerate. I just want to help. That's all. A plebiscite was called to see what Austrians wanted. I have to admit I felt a bit nervous, as I was risking a lot. But in March 1938, I sent some troops to guarantee a trouble-free plebiscite.
Is that so? You sent some troops just to guarantee a trouble-free plebiscite and not for any other purpose. Let's say, oblige people to vote for Anschluss.
Hold your tone, sir. The troops were sent just to maintain peace, an order in case there were any riots or trouble, and the plebiscite resulted in a 99.75% voting for Anschluss.
So Anschluss took place. Was there any confrontation with France and Britain?
Absolutely not. Chamberlain even supported us into Anschluss. Isn't that right, friend?
Well, yes. Britain felt that Austrians and Germany had the right to be united, and the Treaty of Versailles was wrong in separating them. Even our Lord Halifax had suggested Hitler the Anschluss, and that there wouldn't be any opposition with Germany when it united with Austria.
So, Herr Hitler, did you expect Anschluss to result this way, or was it just a risk you took? And most importantly, what are you going to do with all the resources and troops from Austria?
It will all become part of Germany. And you may notice, and I want to emphasize it, the Treaty of Versailles has many flaws within its terms.